All right, good afternoon. I'm Matthew, and this is Miss Walsh's street law class. We're going to be conducting the Hudson v. Daily Metropolis mock trial, where the plaintiff, Thomas Hudson, is trying to find the location of his young child, which was snatched by his ex-wife. There will be a graphic organizer at your seat, jury. So, yeah, I got you. And something to keep in mind is court etiquette for our guests is please no talking when the court is in session. If you need to leave, please wait to leave between presentations. And stand with when the bailiff states all rise. Please limit noise so parties in the courtroom can be heard, and the mock trial is being recorded. So yeah. Thanks, guys. All rise.
Please be seated. Court is now in session. Today's case is Hudson v. the Daily Metropolis. I will now swear in the jury. Jury, please stand. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will truly listen to this case and render a true verdict and fair sentence as to this defendant?
I do.
You may be seated. Members of the jury, your duty will be to determine whether the defendant, the Daily Metropolis, can assert reporter's privilege based only on facts and evidence provided in this case. The plaintiff, Thomas Hudson, must prove that the Daily Metropolis newspaper needs to leak their sources and that their client has exhausted all means to find his son, and that the defendant is hiding valuable information. However, if you are not satisfied with the defendant's guilt to that extent, then reasonable doubt exists and the defendant can assert the reporter's privilege. Is the plaintiff ready?
We are, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Plaintiff, are you ready to present your opening statement?
Yes.
You may now proceed.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Tigran Magosa with my co-counsel, Noah Vasquez. We represent the plaintiff, Mr. Hudson. This is a case about the unthinkable, something that you wouldn't expect in the slightest would happen. On September 10th, 2020, June and Thomas were divorced in the County Superior Court. Custody of Johnny was awarded to Mr. Hudson with weekend visiting privileges granted to Ms. Harris. Thomas is an everyday father, so imagine any of you were in this position as loving parents to children you've worked hard to grow and take care of. As part of the regular weekend visitation, June left Thomas's home with Johnny. She told Thomas that she and the child were going to the zoo. Then the unthinkable happened. Well, neither June nor Johnny did return home that evening, and Thomas had not seen or spoken to either his ex-wife or child since that date. Imagine your child had been taken away in a flash. You couldn't even comprehend what had just happened, or you could say the unthinkable. Thomas had then found a news article on January 11th, 2021 with the name of the Daily Metropolis. The story was starring a child that had been taken away from his father by his mother. Mr. Hudson went to the writer of the article, Riley Bates. Thomas contacted Riley Bates and asked for details on where his child is. Riley Bates declined his request. This is declining Thomas's access to, remember, his own child. Please nullify the reporter's privilege and allow my client to get details on his child's whereabouts.
Defense, are you ready to present your opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Risha Deve, and I represent the defendant, the Daily Metropolis, alongside my associate. Today, we are here to discuss a case of tenaciousness and determination as demonstrated by two journalists. Riley Bates is a reporter for the Daily Metropolis, and Jordan Davis is an editor for the same company. Through their articles, they demonstrated their courage, heroism, and kind-heartedness. The courage to go out and research about the faults in the real work. the heroism to give victims a chance to get help, and the kind-heartedness to do everything they can to make sure these survivors are able to stay protected. Each day, they go to work to support the common good, risking their own security to do so. Journalists and reporters shed light on dark circumstances and inform us on what we need to know. Domestic violence happens more than most people know, and writing these articles helps people understand if they or someone they know are in a dangerous situation. That is why if reporters remove their sources, then less people will be informed. Over time, these reporters will not be able to freely share what they'd like to, leading to a more disclosed and dystopian-like society. To put it simply, reporters will lose their jobs, the public will be less enlightened, and the building blocks of this country, the Constitution, will not be respected. As mentioned in the state statute, specifically in reporter's privilege, anyone connected to news media has full capability to refuse revealing the sources which were used during an investigation. Not to forget, the Constitution, specifically the First Amendment, states the right to freedom of press, clearly defining a reporter's right to say what they think is appropriate without having to compromise their exposure. We hope you find that in order to reinforce the freedoms of working men and women, identities of informants must be secured and that the Daily Metropolis was not obligated to say anything. Thank you for your time.
Plaintiff's counsel, are you ready to call your first witness?
We are.
You may proceed.
I call Thomas Hudson to the stand. Please raise your right hand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
I'm Thomas Hudson, and I live on Walsh is the Best, 123 Lane.
Mr. Hudson, have you ever been married before?
Yes.
Are you still currently married?
No, sir.
What had happened to the first marriage?
We had a divorce.
Do you have children?
Yeah.
Do you currently have custody of the children?
No.
Do you know where your son's whereabouts are currently?
I do not.
Why don't you know about your son's current whereabouts?
Because my wife snatched my child.
Okay. Explain what you had seen in the newspaper.
I had seen this couple, right? The mother and the child, and they had very similar names to my child.
Describe the conditions of Johnny.
Johnny seemed healthy.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
The defense may cross-examine the witness.
How was your relationship like with your ex-wife and Johnny?
I don't have any bad blood with my wife, and Johnny has always been a great son.
Do you know where your child and ex-wife could possibly be?
No, ma'am.
Why do you think your ex-wife would be afraid to give you her location?
I don't know why she would be afraid.
Do you really believe the mother of the child is really endangering Johnny?
I do.
What could she be doing?
Well, she's had a history of abuse, and she's had a history of being an alcoholic.
Are you informed of if she possibly is trying to recover from her addiction?
No.
It is known that Johnny is given sustainable living conditions and is not injured. How do you feel about this?
Well, I'm happy that my son is safe.
What are all of the things you have done to look for your son?
Well, I've talked to private investigators, and I've contacted family members.
But you have not hired a private investigator, correct?
No.
Wasn't Miss Mills going to help you pay for one?
Yes.
So money was not a problem, correct?
Well, it was. We just didn't have the money.
So you haven't exhausted all options to find your son.
No.
Why do you want your information from Daily Metropolis if you haven't exhausted all options?
That's the easiest and fastest way I can find the location of my son.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
You may step down. Plaintiff, you may call your second witness.
I call Skylar Mills to the stand.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Skylar Mills, and I live in South Seminole Academy.
Did you attempt to interview June Harris?
Yes.
How is Miss Harris's behavior when you questioned her?
When I first tried interviewing her, she acted like she was very hostile towards me and did not want to answer most of my questions.
Did Johnny tell you in the court that he preferred living with Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Do you have experience with child snatching cases?
Yes, I do.
Did you see any scars on Johnny before he was taken?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
The defense may cross-examine the witness.
How is it possible that you know Johnny even though you just started working on this case with Mr. Hudson?
We actually met once before.
So you have a previous relationship with the client?
Yeah.
Is it possible that the mother of the child is afraid to give their location to the father?
I don't see why she would be.
How long have you known Mr. Hudson for?
Like 5 days.
But you mentioned that you guys knew each other before the case.
Yeah, I met him that far away. I met him.
How long have you been a social worker for?
I've been a social worker for like 15 years.
Are you skilled at identifying scholars and their age?
Yes. No.
I mean, you've been working for a really long time. You're not identifying them?
I'm a social worker.
Have you seen other cases in which a parent suffers with an addiction recovered?
Yes, I have.
So why couldn't June recover as well?
Can you say the question again?
Why couldn't June recover? Why is she an exception?
I don't know.
It was stated that you were paid. Is this true?
Yeah.
Was Johnny in a good condition?
Before he left.
But it also says that he was in a good condition in the facts when he was interviewed.
Yeah.
What did you plan to do with the money that you were paid with?
To hire a private investigator to help Thomas find his son.
So you're saying that Thomas and yourself didn't already hire a private investigator?
I don't know.
Is it safe to say that you had not done everything to find Johnny?
I don't know.
How do you expect the jury to believe that you were motivated by being paid and having a previous relationship with the client? Thank you, Your Honor.
You may step down.
Finally. 50 questions.
Plaintiff's counsel. Plaintiff's counsel, do you have any more witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Defense, you may call your first witness.
I call Riley Bates.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Riley Bates, and I live on 123 Daddy Lane.
What is your position at the Daily Metropolis?
I'm a reporter.
How would you define your duties as a reporter?
Yo, what? I say they're not that hard. You know, I gotta interviews and write stories and stuff.
When did you meet June?
I met June at a bar. I can't remember the exact date.
When you met June, what was her demeanor like, or what was her behavior like?
When I first met June, all she did was like slide me a paper, so I didn't really know.
What was she like when you interviewed her?
When I interviewed her, she was like worried and stuff, I guess. Like, she was just, she had her kid with her and stuff, so.
What were the conditions June had stated to be met in order to have a conversation with her?
She stated that she wanted like full confidentiality and like no one to know her identity and who she was.
What type of condition was Johnny in during the meeting?
Johnny looked fine, you know, he wasn't like unhealthy or nothing, he was just okay.
Was he upset or scared?
No, he looked just chill out, like, he didn't like look like anything, he was just chill.
Did June ever agree to sharing information about her or Johnny if you didn't promise confidentiality?
No, she said she wouldn't give us the story if we didn't give her confidentiality.
What was the reason you wrote this article?
To spread awareness about like child snatching cases and abuse.
So what would have happened if you didn't write this article?
It wouldn't be weird.
You're running up to me.
Plaintiff, would you like to cross-examine the witness?
Yes. May I approach the witness?
Yes.
No, you can't approach it.
Have you ever worked for any other newspaper companies?
It's not even anything out right. No.
Okay. Do you often have to deal with problems such as these?
I guess, like, you know, once or twice a month.
Is it true that you met June and Johnny during your interview?
Yes, that's when I originally met him.
Was Johnny acting unusual when you met him?
No, he was just sitting there chilling.
Why do you feel it is important to keep the source incognito rather than letting a child see his father again?
Because, you know, like, what if the father was an abuser, you know? You don't want to abuse child, to get abused more. Come on.
Were you aware of June's situation before hiding the information?
No.
No? Okay, that's all I have to say.
You may step down. Defense, you may call your second witness.
I called Jordan Davis to the stand.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Jordan Davis, 1212 Moran Avenue.
Do you see crises like this often?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the law surrounding the job of a reporter and editor?
The what?
The laws surrounding the job of a reporter and editor?
Yeah.
Do you, as an experienced reporter, think that reporters should be able to keep their sources hidden?
I feel that, yes.
Would you say a reporter uses informants often to write articles?
In what?
Informants to write articles.
I don't know if it is.
Like, interviewing people.
Interview?
Yeah. And how important is it to keep them a secret?
I feel like it's very important.
Why should you keep your sources hidden?
because it's our article. We don't want to get it leaked to the press.
Considering your occupation, what may happen if you were to reveal your sources?
Johnny might be in danger with his father.
What was your purpose on writing the article about Johnny?
To bring light to a situation of child snatching.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
The plaintiff may cross-examine the witness.
May I approach the witness now?
Yes.
How long have you been editing newspapers for?
About 15 years.
Are you currently aware of June's whereabouts?
Yes.
Why did you want Mrs. Bates to find a child snatching case?
To bring light to the situation.
Wait. So you knew Miss Harris is a criminal?
What?
Who's Miss Harris?
June Harris.
Oh, yeah, I feel she's kidnapped. No, she's not a criminal. She's just saving her son.
Yeah, without legal permission.
She's doing what she feels is right.
Is your freedom of the press more important than a missing child?
Yes.
Did Johnny look healthy when...
He looked great.
Yeah. Is there a reason for why June is doing this?
To save her child.
And that's all my questions, June.
You may step down. Both the plaintiff and the defense have now rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their final arguments. Plaintiff, are you ready to present your closing argument?
Plaintiff.
I am.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for being here today, members of the jury. Today you have heard testimonies about Hudson v. Daily Metropolis. I would like to remind some of important information that you should consider in this. Wait a minute. Oh wait, yeah, I forgot. I would like to remind you of some important information that you should consider in your decision. The reporter's privilege should not apply to cases that are vital like this. These facts that we have proven in the Daily Metropolis must denounce the location of the mother and the child's location. June Harris is unjustly unwilling to have her son given back to his rightful custody given parents, hiding him away from other kids, his father, authorities, and education. The courts had already given us information that directly disagrees with what the Daily Metropolis has said about calling Thomas Hudson, who is entitled to have equity to access the whereabouts of his child again. Don't let the Metropolis's assumptions ruin young Johnny's life as well as depriving his right to see his father reimbursed for his possession that was thrown out. Let him have access or to even just see and care for his own child again. Please find in favor of Thomas allowed to care for his son again and push the information out of the newspaper. That's all.
Defense, are you ready to present your closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Today, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have heard the facts and evidence which the judge said Riley Bates and Jordan Davis were not respected of their rights when obligated to state their sources. You must consider the following. Doing a lot is not doing everything. Mr. Hudson did not do everything he could to find Johnny before he asked the Daily Metropolis to reveal their source. Instead of going through every choice, such as a private investigator or exposure on social platforms, he chose to use an unruly method and break the law by pinning reporters into stating their sources. Skylar Mills, the main witness used by the plaintiff, had known Mr. Hudson prior to the case and was paid, causing her to lack an objective opinion towards him. This deems her as an unreliable source. As stated in the state statute, a reporter is not obligated to expose their informant as long as every method of search has not been exhausted. The evidence presented by the opposing side is not only unclear, but also unconvincing. No clear case on the danger to Johnny was ever mentioned. Only assumptions on what may have happened were said. By going against the First Amendment right to freedom of press, Skylar Mills and Thomas Hudson had an unconstitutional basis and gave no proper reason to compromise the abilities of the jury. We hope you find that the plaintiff's request was unlawful and the Daily Metropolis had done nothing wrong by reinforcing their rights as journalists in America. Thank you.
Members of the jury, you have heard all of the testimony concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine the facts. You and you alone are the judges of the fact. Decide if the defendant has to reveal the location of the information to the plaintiff, Thomas Hudson. You must decide whether the plaintiff has exhausted all means to find his son. The controlling law is the state revised statute, which means reporters have a right to disclose information from their source and the First Amendment freedom of the press. In just a moment, the bailiff will take you to the jury deliberation room to consider your verdict. Whatever verdict you render must be unanimous, which means that each and every person must agree on the same verdict. The bailiff will now escort you to the deliberation room.
No, bro.
You're cross-examination questions aside. No, actually, they could have objected to your.
I did better than you. You wait, tell me, and then you come out. All rise. All rise. You should have told me first before you file out. All right. The judge already told us to all rise. Judge, take control of your courtroom.
Jury, what is your verdict?
The jury has voted unanimously for the defendant.
So you found that the reporter's privilege applies.
We found that the reporter's privilege applies as the plaintiff has not used all his means and to find his child, Johnny Hudson.
Upholding the state
The jury has rendered a verdict. Thank you for your service. Court is now adjourned.
Okay, two trials, two different outcomes. Plaintiff wins in third period, defense wins and fifth. Why do you think that? I'm still talking. Noah, why do you think that they found for the defendant this time?
I blame Matthew. Matthew, it's all Matthew.
You're blaming
It's all
Matthew.
Matthew.
Christian, what do you think happened?
I'm sorry, but he was too close.
I was in the gallery, so we will talk afterwards. Go ahead.
Wait, what you guys say?
Go ahead, KP, and pay attention.
Alright, so basically the thing that made it different is that in third period, Andrew and Steven, they didn't emphasize the fact that they didn't use all exhaustive means. They didn't mention that part, so basically if you read into the third period one, it looked like we had the upper hand, but when
So you have the standard of clear and convincing, right? They exhausted all the means to
yeah,
locate.
but when you got into fifth period, they actually showed the fact. They actually showed us that every the private investigator was not used, so every exhaustive mean hasn't been used, which is what's it called, one of the rebuttals in the statute to what's it called, give up the information. Of course.
Yes, good. So our defense in this case was more effective, right? Besides with their argument, showing that the other side didn't meet the burden of proof, because we know that who has the burden of proof here in the civil? It's the, say their name, the plaintiff. Thank you, the plaintiff. All right. Anyone else in the jury want to share their thinking? I know Andrew would like to. Go ahead.
I just think that the reason why I kind of voted for defendant is because, like, every time when the plaintiff called one of their witnesses, they weren't given like they weren't like rapidly firing questions, and the questions weren't really strong as much, but they were okay for like a little bit, but the defense just kept on giving those good questions, getting the facts out, and then
Getting the facts out that help their argument.
yeah,
right?
but
So you feel like the plaintiff's a little weak on getting their points or getting the evidence in the record to get them to support their argument.
yes, and there was a lot of objections that I saw that could have been used.
Yeah, no, use objection on issue basket. That's a hard thing to do, you know, in real life. That questioning and objections are hard. I've heard too. And when we replay it, we're gonna stop and do that next week when we get that issue for us, so we can see what we can get some opportunities. But we know that's a difficult process. That we're seeing the objections are hard. Anyone else would like to say anything? What about let's see, Stephen, you want to say?
I feel like the plaintiff's witnesses were not convincing, or not that convincing, because he didn't help them. But when there were kind of some help, the defendant, like Andrew said, pretty much just.
So maybe the questions weren't strong enough, right?
Yeah, the questions weren't really strong enough.
Strong enough for a little bit, right? It was more dramatic to get that at the top. Ms. Bolger, students are in the jury. Would you like to say anything? Because I see some of them are my legal studies kids. Have we done more criminal in those cases? This is probably your first time that we've done civil. I believe, yeah, civil. What do you think, Donovan? We have 12 people in the jury, and real life civil only has 6. I just was letting more students participate. And you do not have to have a unanimous verdict. You can have a majority of that. So my kiddos got a little confused on that. I thought we cleaned that up, but we forgot. And criminal is 12. What do you think, Donovan? This experience like?
So the real strong heavy hitter on their side was the fact that he didn't do everything in his power, and just the fact that he didn't do anything, and the questions and everything were just I don't know, really great.
So the burden is always on the plaintiff or the prosecution. So they had the burden of showing that clear and convincing they had done everything, and they just didn't be able to carry that burden over for you guys in this trial. Kaylee, you want to say anything? You're always shy. Alexander, one of my criminal justice students. Anything say Daniel? Okay, those are some of my legal studies kids. All right. Jada, do you want to say anything? Jayla back there, my street little kids? What do you think? Do you want to tell them about what it was like to get ready to do this? How long have we spent on this?
A long time.
A long time.
Like 3 weeks
My legal
max.
studies kids want to throw together a trial in a week, an original trial. How long does it take, Jayla?
Like 3 weeks.
It's a long time, right? We have to go over how to do each part, the opening and closing, and the types of questions. We've had lessons on that, objections, and then we rehearse and revise and rehearse and revise, right? To get to this point. This is tough. What's the toughest part of being doing that? What's the toughest part, Anna? Anna, sorry, Anna. What do you think was the hardest part to write, prepare for, as an attorney?
I don't think it was necessarily hard. I think maybe the most difficult part was wondering what the witnesses were going to say.
Right, and to get your questions worded so that you can get your witnesses to say what you need them to, right? That's hard. Teague, what was the effortless part? Because you were really, I think you had the best opening. I love how he had the theme of what was yours, unthinkable. So what was the part you felt like was the effortless, the one that you felt like you were most effective with?
Opening.
The opening, why? You know, we always say why.
Because mainly the theme.
You guys did, yeah. You like the theory of the theme. There's different ways to do your openings. He went with the theme one. You guys had more of a strategy with the law. And you can make points for the jury like that. Everybody's written something. Jayla, what was you thought, oh my gosh, this was so difficult. I know questions was, I know I had to slow down and reteach that again. And that was hard, because those are hard. Those are hard to word things because, you know, your witnesses, even if they're your witnesses, they don't think like you. You can prepare them all the time and then they get in here and get stage fright in court and forget. Go ahead, Stephen.
I think the cross-examination is the hardest.
Yeah.
The hardest to anticipate it, right? They try to anticipate it and then you have to kind of do it on your feet. Go ahead.
I think the easiest is probably the closing, in my opinion, because
you're just wrapping it all up. You're just like putting those last minute touches on it.
Bringing out that argument and what you want them to do for you. Hey, Pete, go ahead, wake up and tell us what was your experience like?
It was difficult. In my opinion, it was real
It's
difficult.
difficult to stay focused, right?
Yeah.
All right,
still did it, though.
to the gallery that are usually my good guys. What was it like, Christian? What would you feel was maybe the most difficult, or I know that was probably working with your law partners. We had boiling water going on with the two of them. They randomly drew their law partners, so and if you have me, you know that chance decides lots of things right in here, and so that they did it by chance, and some worked out great. Some where they had to learn how to work with other people. So let's go with what was your most enjoyable part of doing it?
Oh, enjoyable? I'd probably be like presenting the case.
Presenting the
Yeah,
case.
like actually presenting the case, that was easily like the best part of the case overall.
Like being up and doing the
Yeah,
public
doing
speaking. You
like
all did really well. No shaky voices or anything. Rhiannon usually gets a little stage fright, and she did really well. They're not used to having a lot of people in here. Usually it's just us. There's just the 9 of us and a couple outsiders. That's it. Jadrian, what do you think about being the judge in third period? Did you like having control of the courtroom? Tell us.
Yeah, it was fun.
What was fun about it?
Being the main man.
Being the main person, were you nervous? Did you think you might be nervous about leaving something out? Rhiannon, tell us about you. What did you think when it got a little loud? Were you nervous about trying to control the courtroom? Yeah. Yeah? What do you think is a good way to do that? You didn't use you used the gavel. I saw twice you went ahead and went to the gavel to get their attention. It's nice to have that tool to do that. Does anyone else want to know us? You haven't shared something with us? Give me your personal. You don't have anything to share? What do you think was the easiest part for you to do? Just hold it together, gentlemen in the back.
Probably the closing statement.
Closing, everyone likes to go ahead and wrap it up with something. So what we did is we showed how family law, state law intersects and can come in conflict with the First Amendment. And some believe family law was the most important thing, had the priority at the time, and then the other case. So I just wanted you to see, I'm glad you got different verdicts, that you can see that different attorneys in front of different jury can get different verdicts, right, about what's presented in trial. Okay, we're done. Anything else? No, we're good? All right, good to see this. You just stay in the jury box right now. All right, you're just going to stay where you are. My kiddos can go ahead and log off.